Hi, welcome to Unnecessary Roughness, Barstool's college football show. Stop doing that with your shoulders. Stop.
My shoulder. I really need somebody to massage my shoulders because I'm carrying a lot.
Okay, DM's open, boys. Good Lord, how do you start a show by saying you need somebody to massage? You know how many DMs you're gonna get?
But you just said stop moving your shoulders, and they're really tight, especially this one because I carry my son.
All right, everybody relax.
Keep it going.
This show, Unnecessary Roughness, brought to you as always by the delicious High Noon Hard Seltzer, and she's gonna stop rolling her shoulders long enough to tell you about them.
I sure am. HighNoonSpirits.com, Ev. So the Ann Arbor weekend is over, but I have to say, I was talking to somebody about the teas again. I'm obsessed with them, and I've had the teas. I know you've had the teas. Everyone's had the teas. I had more teas over the weekend responsibly than I have in a long time. I can't get over them because they just taste like fall to me. Okay. Like, the carbonation is great. It hits for the summer. It hits on the pool, the lake, the ocean, whatever. There's something about those teas without the carbonation that just felt a little bit more cold weathery. They're all cold weathery, but that one hit a little bit different, Ev. I can't stop talking about it.
Kayce, a high noon peach tea in hoodie weather. I use one word to describe it, Kayce, and that word's special.
Special.
It's just special. It's just fantastic. The way it just hits your lips, it's just perfect. It's perfect.
It's so good, and I hope the weather continues. I know we haven't released where we're going for the college football show in 2 weeks now, but we will be also on the location. I think it'll probably be a little bit warmer there, but regardless, we will have High Noon on deck. HighNoonSpirits.com. Find a pack near you.
I can't believe we're going to the places we're going. I'm going to need security all season.
Okay, I said this before we started recording. I'm not going to give anything away, but you have more opportunities to play like a real heel, not like I'm going to fake this for where we're going for the rest of the season. So far, there's only one place that I don't think that you can play heel.
I don't know where that place is because I think I can do it all of them.
Well, you definitely can do it. Yeah. You can do it at all of them. The one I'm specifically thinking of, like you have beef with that one fan base, but it's like more of like a recency beef.
Yeah.
Where we're going the next one, I'm just saying.
Yep. All right. Today on the show, it is we're entering week 3, but we're going to do some cleanup on week 2. We're going to talk about who's up this week, who's down the most, and then I have a little what do we make of this team questionnaire for everybody. I got 4 teams I'm going to ask, what do we make of this team? But first, the number one story. This is a departure for us, and I usually don't love doing this because I like to shit on people, so I don't like to kiss them on the cheek and then slap them in the face. I don't like to do that. But we made an exception this time because the number one story in college football last week was Notre Dame, number 5 team, losing to Northern Illinois, and the awesome scene of the sky getting dark and the Northern Illinois players celebrating. Coach Thomas Hammock, tears coming down his face as he celebrated in Notre Dame Stadium. Well, guess who we've got this week? We got about 15 minutes with Coach Thomas Hammock of the number 25 Northern Illinois Huskies. We'll get to everything else, but that interview starts right now. All right, so we all watched college football the other day, and we said on this show, the reason this sport is the greatest sport in the world is it gives us opportunities to see something like we saw in South Bend, Indiana, where Northern Illinois walked into the number 5 team in the nation and beat them. You had the post-game interview with Coach Hammock, Coach Thomas Hammock, who played at Northern Illinois. The tears were streaming. He was feeling good. The players were celebrating. Well, we got him right here. It's Coach Thomas Hammock of the Northern Illinois, the number 25 Northern Illinois Huskies. And I got to ask you, Coach, we saw you on the field. We saw the tears. We saw the interview. What was the locker room like when you got back to your guys?
Well, they were excited. You're talking about guys jumping around and having a great time, and it was just an unbelievable atmosphere for those guys, an unbelievable moment. I think one that they will remember the rest of their life, and I was happy to be a part of that with them.
Coach, I've always said I love when men cry over football because I cry over football. So when a man shows emotion over it, I love it. When you got back to the locker room and the next day when you were processing it, did you realize wow, I just cried for the entire nation and I'm proud of that because we just beat Notre Dame?
Yeah, it's been interesting, right? A lot of people felt good about it, and then I get a message from my grandmother like, "I can't believe you did that." But it was all in love. She was like, "I knew you was gonna tear up," But It was obviously an incredible moment. I went to a Catholic high school in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I know what Notre Dame is, the prestige of the place, and to come out with a victory just meant a lot to me. All the hard work and sacrifice that our players have put into the program and the coaches. I was just happy for those guys that they had a chance to experience that moment.
Coach, I know that every football coach in season especially is all about the next game and the next moment and the next everything. Is this the most well-timed bye week of all time for you guys?
Listen, when our schedule came out, I thought the bye week came at a perfect time because we knew Notre Dame was going to be a physical contest, and we was going to give it everything we had. And so the way I built the schedule, I built a 6-week schedule where we can maximize the time and attack each and every game the first 2 weeks. And we handle business against Western. And I told our staff, we're healthy going into this game. We're going to play our best players the longest, and then we'll figure out after the game, what we need to do to recover at that point in time.
So how long did the celebration last?
Well, you talk about the 24-hour rule, but I think it's lasted a little bit longer than that, given that we have a bye week. I can understand why teams struggle the next week, and I got a tremendous message for our team of how to overcome history. And so these are the things that we're going to need to do this week. But for us, we're going to have some training camp style practices on Wednesday and Thursday. And if you know anything about the way we practice, it's extremely intense and physical. And so that's the easiest way to get them back locked into game on.
Coach, I know that you obviously you tell your team, like, you're going to go into South Bend, you're going to give them everything. When was the moment that you internalized you were really going to get out of there with a win? Like, you go into it with all the hope in the world and you tell your guys that you're going to have all the hope in the world. But when did you personally realize, like, oh my God, this is going to happen?
When we made the field goal. So that was the only moment where I allowed myself to think this is going to happen. And then we lined up on the kickoff team, and we was going to kick a sky kick. And I see number 4 back there, and he's the best player on their team, in my opinion. And so I called the timeout. I said, there's no way we're going to lose a game on a kickoff return to their best player. And so we wound up squibbing it down the middle, got the ball down, and then play defense and obviously block the kick from that point.
Coach, the next time you go out on the football field to play with this team, you'll be playing another very good team. You'll be playing NC State. You'll be doing it with a ranking beside your name. Does that change anything for you guys to live up to that, or do you have to warn the kids to, hey, let's not worry about that?
No, I think nothing changes for us. I talked to our players about what I thought they can become, and I told them I wasn't going to put any limitations on them as far as how well we can play and how good we can do. So this is not coming as a surprise. I think we have a really, really strong football team, guys that have been in the program, developed in the program, matured in the program, been through ups and downs and adversity. And so I think they know how to handle it. We got 32 seniors. And I tell them all the time, in 4 months, when you leave, nobody's going to care what you do. So make this the best 4 months of your life up until this point.
Big Ev, I'll let you get to your question after this one. Just want you to tee that one up. But, Coach, being a Northern Illinois running back yourself, how did it feel watching Ontario Brown do what he did on that huge stage, that national TV game in South Bend? How did it feel watching a Northern Illinois running back do that?
Well, I've always believed in Ontario and think he can be one of the best backs in the country. And for him to go out there and have that type of performance should give him a lot of confidence to say, we're not going to play many more defenses as good as what we saw on Saturday. So he is just about consistency, staying in the moment, being hungry, and attacking it week in and week out. But I was excited for him, happy for him. He's getting a chance to have a chance to live out his dream. He had a lot of attention in the offseason from, programs, and he decided to stay. And I told him I was going to give him every opportunity to show the type of player that he is in the country.
So are you worried, real quick, are you worried if you get another huge win, gigantic win like that, what your grandmother's going to say if you cry again?
Well, listen, that kind of affected me a little bit because I was like, come on. But I am worried because she knows, she knows how much I pour into this program and what these players mean to me. And when they have success, you're just happy for them.
Of all people, it's your grandma, right? It's got to be your grandma.
They know you the best. They know you the best.
Big Ev, go ahead.
Coach, Big Ten guy here. I know what your time at Wisconsin. You coached some incredible running backs. I'm gonna put you on the spot here. I want you to rank them: Monty Ball, Melvin Gordon, James White.
Well, Melvin was the most talented. James was the most consistent, and Monty Ball just found a way to get it done. And so having all those guys in the same room, I'm just happy the transfer portal and NIL was not around during that time because they had no idea how good they were or the type of resources that they could be afforded. But it was great to have that competition. They were tremendous competitors, and I'm happy for all their success.
See, that's a coach right there, guys. He just ranked all three of them number one.
Yeah,
every single one of them. He gave you a reason why every single one of them was number one. Speaking of players, I talked about Liam Blutman over there in the bottom right. He's got a question about some players. Go ahead, Liam.
Big Mac guy here, and I just want to say people don't understand about the MAC and how much NFL talent that there is here. One of the guys that I fell in love with on your team a few years ago in 2021, Trayvon Rudolph. I know things haven't been easy for him lately. He had the non-contact injury in the camp of 2022. I know it's been tough, like getting him back on track and everything. Like, how do you just instill confidence in him and show him that he's still a potential NFL guy, one of the best players on our team? Ways that you could use him down the road here, because I know you like finding creative ways to get him the ball and stuff.
Yeah, no, he had a really explosive week one against Western Illinois. Had 167 yards or so all purpose, 100 receiving and 67 yards rushing. He got a little nicked up this last game, so he wasn't able to showcase what he can do. But hopefully, he'll get back healthy this week with some time off and show the type of explosiveness that will allow him to go to the next level, because he does have that type of ability.
Well, Coach, a couple more questions, and I'll let you get out of here. You just got up for a huge, gigantic game against Notre Dame. You now have to do it again. You got NC State. That is not that is a very, very, very good football team. I know you've got the MAC schedule coming in after that, but how do you go from the high of this to getting them right back to they got to be ready to go against NC State?
Yeah, no, we actually got Buffalo.
I apologize.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But yeah, it's great the way it mapped out, because Buffalo is our first conference game. And, our goal is to compete for a MAC championship. And we understand that every game counts. So it's going to be very easy to get them refocused on the task at hand with Buffalo coming to town, knowing that if you lose a game in the MAC, that greatly decreases your chance for having a chance to play for a championship.
How's DeKalb, Illinois doing right now? How are they handling all this?
Well, listen, they are jacked. They are pumped up. There's a lot of excitement on campus. And for me, I hope that means, more people are going to invest in our program, because obviously in this new age of college football, there has to be a financial investment for teams like us to maintain. And we built a really good culture and a really good team and a really good program. Now we want to fight for consistency. And the only way to be consistent is to have, backing.
Coach, we do a traveling college football show with Barstool. It's the Barstool College Football Show, aptly named. We were at Northern Illinois a few years ago. Actually, we did a show in the middle of the week. Normally, we're somewhere on Saturdays. We did a midweek doubleheader for the MACtion, and I had never been to MAC games before. And I have to say, the way that these fans showed out, it was like we were at a number 1 versus number 2 game. There's freezing cold snow. It was perfect. What makes the MAC so different? You've coached all over, you've played, obviously. What makes the passion for the MAC so crazy?
Well, you have a lot of teams with very similar resources. There's great coaches in this conference. A lot of players have been recruited by various staffs in this conference. So it's a lot of very similar teams. And that's why there's so many one-possession type ball games. So, even though we beat Notre Dame and everybody's excited about that, I understand, what this conference is about. Any team can win any particular week. And so we got to continue to put in the work and stay focused and give ourselves a chance. But the fans are great. Matching is a great opportunity for us to get national exposure. And those midweek games, I really enjoy them because on the weekends they can be student athletes.
Well, Coach, last question. We'll let you get out of here. I know we're bumping up against your time limit, but I don't know if you know, but this year at the end of the season, the highest ranked G5 team gets a playoff spot. I don't know if that's something we're thinking about yet, but just wanted to throw that out there and get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, my thoughts are like, when you go play the lottery, right? You don't play the lottery thinking, hey, I'm about to win $200 million. You play the lottery thinking, hey, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, I got to continue with the rest of my business. So, yeah, sure, that's out there and something that'll be talked about. But, our focus has to be on the next week and the next opponent. And come December, if we're still in that conversation, then we'll worry about that then.
Well, I think getting a win over Notre Dame in South Bend at night is probably going to help that conversation a little bit.
Give me 10 more weeks, and then I'll follow back up with you.
Okay.
Well, listen. That is Coach Thomas Hammock of Northern Illinois. They were the talk of the country in week 2, and it was a joy to watch what you guys did at Notre Dame, and we'll follow you throughout the rest of the year. Thank you for joining us, Coach.
Thank you. Go Huskies.
Coach.
Huskies.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thanks,
No
Coach.
Thank you.
All right. Kayce, I love that guy.
He's great. He's so great. I mean, the fact that like his grandma was the one that roasted him the most about crying makes it so good. And I've said before, I said it in the interview, I love when men cry over football because it shows true emotion. But that there was probably a group text with his boys that were like, come on, man. But the fact that it was his grandma is just so perfect.
Well, that's the awesome thing about it. You can be a great college football coach and a leader of men and be the star of the entire sport. But to your grandma, you're just her grandson. That's all. That's
shit.
Yeah, right. So you get humbled real quick. That was awesome, and that was fantastic. Let's do some business, and then we'll move on to who's up and who's down.
Well, as we mentioned in the interview, going to Maction games we did a couple years ago was very fun, and Maction's starting pretty soon, Ev. I know we get a couple of weeks, and like midweek games are great. And you know who can send you, Ev? Game Time. Game Time can send you to those Maction games. They can send you to every college football game, NFL game. If you want to go to a concert, a comedy show, Game Time is the place to go. And Ev, I know you're a big Maction guy, and I know we had a lot of fun on the road for the college football show. I bet you want to go to some Maction games.
I'd love to. It starts in November. It's already circled on my calendar. Like you said, going to those Maction games are a blast. We went to the Toledo game a few years ago. Fantastic. I feel like I've been all over the place at Game Time. I've been to college football games, UFC all over the country. I saw Andrew Schultz in Atlantic City a few weeks ago. Game Time, the best.
It's the absolute best. They can take you wherever, and they now have this great Game Time picks feature. They're making it even easier to go to a game. That's how much we love Game Time because it filters out all the fluff. If you've ever gone to a ticketing app, it's just a pain in the ass sometimes to figure out exactly where you want to go, where you want to sit, how much money you want to spend. But with Game Time, they not only have the incredible deals on great seats, you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. So they have the filters made for you specifically for that event. So we love Game Time. We absolutely love it. You know, we've got some off weekends. Like, we're never truly off because we always have unnecessary roughness, obviously, at midnight. But we've got some weekends where we're not traveling for the college football show. I've been kind of peeping around at maybe hitting up some A&M games, and Game Time is helping me filter out exactly what would be perfect for that. And right now, you download the Game Time app and use code RUFF. You will easily score great deals with new Game Time picks. What time is it, Brandon? What time is it?
Game time. Ooh.
Game time. It's game time.
Real quick before we move on to who's up and who's down, I just want to talk to Big Ev right now. We're just going to take a time out. Nobody else listen. Nobody else here listen. Big Ev, you know how on Thursday we release a parlay with our underdog of the week and all that stuff?
Yeah.
I fucking love the Florida Gators against A&M. I adore the Florida Gators. I would marry the Florida Gators right now if I could against A&M. That's just me talking to you though.
Bren, it was a game that I looked at on every Monday in college football.
Right.
What I do is I look at every game on the board, and I just knee jerk, I circle. Not every game. The ones that I like knee jerk, I circle them all.
Yeah, it got circled.
Florida may or may not have been circled.
Yeah. I love it. I'm talking to Big Ev right now.
No, I know. Well, this is a follow-up. It might not necessarily have to do with that game, but it kind of does. I ended up texting Ev about this because Brandon, you've just decided to not answer anybody's text messages ever. And I texted you yesterday about the college football show selection games this weekend because the week 3 slate, and again, I said it last week, it's kind of weak in comparison. And I asked you, what game do you think we should talk about?
Yeah.
A&M and Florida or Oregon and Oregon State? You didn't answer me.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to now know that you're planning on talking about A&M Florida anyway. So then that way I can do some business with our producers, but fuck you.
Yeah. Well, I fuck me for what? I didn't say anything to you.
Well, for not answering me. And then
But
also
I didn't say anything to you. I was talking to Big M.
Do you really think that?
Yeah, unfortunately I do, Kayce. Unfortunately I do. And I can't help what these eyes and this brain do. I can't help it. I only follow them. They don't follow me.
I'm going to be down so bad. Florida's so trash.
That's perfect for our first segment. Who's down the most? Who is down?
Me?
Who's down the worst? We got who's up the most and who's down the baddest. We're going to do it every week. We're going to see. I kind of like it. So, Big F, I guess you're just the leadoff hitter on this team, which goes against popular convention. But you go ahead and lead us off. Who's down the most?
So there's a few different ways I could go with this. There's some chalk answers. I'm going to go a little non-chalk. I'm going to say Colorado, to be honest. Colorado is down really. I mean, the comments that Shedeur Sanders made about how many times Rayola get touched.
Yeah.
I have a take, Brandon. I actually was talking to Roan about this just like 20, 30 minutes ago. I think Shedeur Sanders playing for Deion is the worst thing that ever happened to him.
I think you're right, Big F.
If he went to college and say Deion just stayed in high school, was doing his thing in Texas, coaching whatever, and he went, say initially he was talking about going to FAU with Tom Herman, which he went to much bigger schools. Say he went there, fine, wherever he went. He doesn't have this. There's no charade.
Right.
It's just football. You get coached up for real. You don't get to do whatever you want. You don't get to take the Colorado fight song away. And
That's
play
crazy.
A rap song when you score a touchdown.
Kayce, did you see that report?
I'm a Deion guy.
That's apparently not fully true.
All right. Well, whatever.
They play the fight song. They play the rap song for like a few seconds, and then they play the fight song.
Go ahead, Big F. Sorry.
I mean, even still, but just the whole thing it's gotten. I feel like it's just slowly unraveled more and more and more, and this thing's getting out of control. I mean, he's talking himself out of being like a first-round draft pick. Who's gonna want this guy to be your franchise quarterback when you're just throwing your lineman under the bus? I don't know. Like I said, I like Deion. This thing's gotten it's become truly a circus.
Yeah, and there's other troubling signs. Like once he threw that pick six in the first quarter, he was done. He did not. His body language was terrible. He looked defeated. And right, there's not a coach on that sideline that could snap him back into reality. Like, look, hey, you're our fucking guy. Listen, move on. Next play. It just didn't happen. That's a great take there, Big F. Kayce, who's down the most?
I mean, it's incredibly chalk, but it's still Notre Dame fans. I mean, like Chief wrote a blog today, and we're however many hours, 48 plus hours post, like them really having to like digest what happened. And, of course, with the 12-team playoff, like you can never say never that a team with one loss is going to be out, especially of the caliber of Notre Dame. But they most likely are out because I do believe there's going to be at least 4 teams from either the SEC or the Big Ten. You're going to look at the ACC and the Big 12, and you obviously have the at-large group of 5 teams. So I think Notre Dame fans are really processing like, okay, they've had Marcus Freeman now for 3 years. Brian Kelly's been gone. They hated Brian Kelly. People at LSU are understanding that. But is Marcus Freeman really going to be the guy to take that next step? Because if you look at what they did, whether you think A&M is good or not, obviously, Brandon, you don't because you think they're going to lose to Florida this weekend, but I digress. That game gave them all the hope in the world, and then to turn around and immediately squash it. Like Notre Dame fans, I mean, I've been seeing on Twitter, like they're like, who are we going to get next? Like they're ready to fire Marcus Freeman over that after one of the biggest wins we've seen in 2 weeks. Like they're down bad. They're down so astronomically bad, and I don't blame them. You don't bounce back from being like, okay, we're absolutely going to make the playoff and then lose to Northern Illinois and feel good about it ever.
Clarifying something you said. I don't think they're out if they go 11-1. I think they're out of the playoff because if they can't beat Northern Illinois, I don't think they're walking into LA and beating USC. I don't think, like, certainly that easy schedule that was hyped up so much and was such a big part of how good they could be didn't turn out to be that easy. So we can't assume anything anymore.
They did. I mean, they lost to Stanford too, but like when they lost to Marshall, like, they turned around and they lost only 2 games that year, 3 games, maybe
3, I believe.
I do think that, like, I agree with you. However, I do think if they go 11-1, there's another team that's 11-1 that doesn't have a loss that looks like Northern Illinois. I could see that being an argument. It's not like losing to USC going in 11-1. Like, that was a game that they had, I believe, 95%. Like, they were supposed to win. So 4 touchdown favorite. So that's why I think they're down even worse. Because, like, yeah, in this new system, okay, you lose 1 game, pick yourself up and keep moving. You lose to Northern Illinois at home, you're down bad. Like, I don't feel like there's another answer that's close to that.
But like Fornelli brought up, and he's 100% correct. If you're losing to Northern Illinois, you have no business making the playoff. I don't care if you go 11-1. If you lose a massive game like that, you don't deserve to be in the playoff. What you do the rest of the season should not matter. If you can't beat a decent group of 5 team, you have no business being rewarded with a chance to play on the new biggest stage in the game.
So I disagree with that entirely.
That's okay.
It's a bad loss, and Fornelli's right. It's a really bad loss. I don't think there's a such thing as a disqualifying loss. Like, if they were to pick themselves up and go 11-1, and that includes winning at USC, who I think, by the way, is going to be in the mix all year, I think they're going to be a very good. You tell me this team wins their next 9 games and they're 10-1. They go to USC and they beat a 9-2 USC. That team doesn't belong. That team would very much belong at that point. I don't believe that's going to happen. I don't think they're good enough to do it, and I think that coach is going to lose a couple more games. Like, I don't think he's good enough to beat Louisville if he can't beat Northern Illinois. But 11-1, even with the loss to Northern Illinois, yeah, I think they'd 100%. But we're all talking hypotheticals. It's way too early for hypotheticals.
But the fact that we're even having the conversation goes to my point of them being down this bad.
Oh, they're down. They're down.
Because in week 2, if you're having this conversation and you have people on the side that Liam just said, or people on your, like, whatever, like, that sucks, because it's like you had everything in front of you and they're now talking about firing their coach. So,
I mean, I said it in the recap on Saturday.
What'd you say?
I said that they can't make the playoff after this. I agree. I stand on that. I don't think you can make. I see what you're saying. I think they'd have.
I don't think they will. I think they can.
No, that's fair. I don't think they should, regardless if they do or not. But I think the only way it'd have to be impressively. Like, they'd have to go beating the shit out of teams down the road. I don't think they can just skate by. They'd have to go shit pump all these teams and then, like, handle USC.
well, and you talk about, like, the hypotheticals, because then you start looking, okay, do you take, like, a 2-loss Penn State that lost to, like, 2 great Big Ten teams over 1 loss Notre Dame who lost to Northern Illinois, or an SEC team? Like, that's when you really, and, like, I don't want to get into the whole, like, they deserve to be in or should be in a conference for this, but, like, that is where that's going to come to fruition, because I'm sorry, if, like, Ole Miss loses to, like, Georgia and one other good SEC team, I would still put them in over Notre Dame, who lost to Northern Illinois.
Well, you guys are also just, and we're going to move on very quickly, you're discounting the love and absolute devotion that voters and committee members have shown to Notre Dame through the past. So anyway, that's a conversation we'll never have, because they will not go 11-1.
They're going to lose to USC.
Blutman, who's down the worst?
So I got 2 quotes I've brought to the table: quarterback or head coach?
Quarterback.
Okay. It's funny when they lose money. They want their money back. But when they win money on a parlay, no one's ever sent me any of the money.
I love that quote. I know who said it.
Mm-hmm. The head coach quote: I can promise you the package will not be big.
I know who said that as well.
I know who said that. That was Hugh Freeze.
Correct.
Peyton Thorne.
Peyton Thorne was the first. Auburn's the most down bad. You go and you drop the ball against that Cal team who got nothing from their best player, all-conference running back, J&I. You lose 21-14. Peyton Thorne, again, looked like he could not read a second-grade book. And then you have that comment coming from him. Of course nobody's paying you. My dude, you're not winning anybody money with your play anyway. So, like, what are we doing? And then Hugh Freeze, yes, the offense is so bad and dreadful. Move on from your quarterback, one thing. We see enough from Thorne to know he he ain't the guy's crazy. It's like he ain't a guy.
Yeah.
He ain't just a guy either. So like, yeah, your offense is gonna be. There's no way that's the quote he said. That's insane.
Also, did you see where he also said that Peyton Thorne said that people were asking him for money on Venmo? Like, that's annoying too. Have people done that to you guys?
Oh yeah.
So like, imagine you're yeah, they've done it to me for like I got like random ones like, I Camp Barstool. I wasn't even at Camp Barstool, but if you're a college quarterback or a college player or coach in general, you've got to go like dark on Venmo because I can't imagine the assholes that are flooding your Venmo requests.
I got to be honest though. I agree with Plutman said they are very down bad. I almost kind of respect that he said it.
Which one? Freeze or the quarterback?
No, the quarterback. Like, hey, like they covered week 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, hey, no one's ever sent me any money. No one's ever let me wet the beak.
I
I've covered your spreads. Now you're sending me invoices.
Like, yeah, respect that he said it, cool, but he ain't. He's such a bad quarterback. Like when Auburn wins and when Auburn covers, it's not because of him. So like, do you know? Did anyone like actually watch that game for the whole 60 minutes? Like
I didn't watch 60, but I watched some of it.
How bad was he?
He's bad.
He's bad.
Correct. So don't talk.
It was shocking that Auburn ran that out last year and just said, let's run that back.
Correct.
Shocking.
Yeah, no.
Don't get Giovanni McCoy or something.
Brandon, who's down bad?
All right, so I'm kind of going off the beaten path too, because certainly Notre Dame is down tremendously bad, and obviously they would be. Why wouldn't you be? Michigan is also down bad, but here's the thing about Michigan: I'm not letting them off the hook that easy. I'm not simply saying they're down bad because guess what? It's getting worse before it gets better, guys. When you lose those 6 games this year, you're going to be down bad every single time. So I'll just be circling back to you and circling back to you and circling back to you.
Can I ask you a question for real?
Yeah. I actually think that, yes.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
Let's say it's not Michigan. Let's say, for example, it's Mississippi State. Okay,
Sure.
Mississippi State wins the national title.
Yeah, our coach died.
Okay, no. Again, I'm not talking shit about Mississippi State. I'm
Okay,
just saying,
all
let's hypothetically say it, okay?
Yeah.
UCLA for Liam, A&M for me. Ev doesn't count because Ohio State will probably win one. I can tell you right now that if I won a national title the last year, yes, I would want to continue and win another one, but no one would be able to say shit to me, no matter how many times we lose.
Well, that's great. But if you win the national title by questionable means, if you and then you spend the entire offseason saying no matter how many players we lost or who we lost, we're still going to be just as good, and you show up to the next season,
that part sucks.
and you
Yes.
show up to the next season and you're wearing a crown on your head and you're saying you're the king of college football and the Ohio State rivalry is dead and will never matter again, and you're saying everybody bow down to the king, and the second somebody walks into your house with a decent team, they beat the fucking shit out of you, guess what? Smile, because that shit's going to be going on all fucking season.
Okay, fair.
But
Also,
the answer wasn't
they
Michigan.
lost.
What?
I said it's the way they lost I think just a big part of it is losing.
Correct. So we just spent 5 minutes talking about the team I'm not saying.
who are you saying?
This is sneaky, and maybe it's too inside SEC, but I think Kentucky is on a slippery fucking slope right now. Kentucky is the least talked about thing we did. Their coach willingly tried to leave. He just willingly tried to leave last year, and we all just sandpapered over it and like, oh, okay, well, he's back. They'll be fine. They got Brock Vandagriff. Brock Vandagriff stinks out loud. He is not good. Kirby Smart was right. The recruiting experts were wrong. This guy isn't good. Their receivers that are supposed to be all world can't really do much. Like, they're bad. It's one thing to be not as good as you thought you would. But South Carolina last week barely and didn't deserve to beat, who was it, Blutman? South Carolina.
Oh,
Old
God.
Dominion.
Old Dominion.
Old Dominion, thank you very much. They barely beat Old Dominion, didn't deserve to do it. They then walk into Commonwealth Kroger Stadium, whatever it's called. They walk into Kroger Stadium and beat the fucking shit out of Kentucky. Something is rotten in that program. Something stinks. Something is broken, and we didn't know it till Saturday night. I think Kentucky fans have got to be down the worst.
That is an inside SEC one, but also a very fair one because, we talk about it, obviously Texas, Michigan being the biggest game of the week and how Michigan looked. Kentucky got humiliated. They got absolutely curb stomped to a South Carolina team that really had no business doing that.
who we certainly didn't think had any business
Right,
doing it.
right. Well,
Like-
and I know that this week's slate, and again, it's like the broken record. Like this week's slate is not that great in comparison, but like the fact that College Game Day is going to South Carolina, like LSU, South Carolina. If you would have told me that 2 weeks ago, I'd be like, barf, why? Now again, there's not these great options. Like South Carolina all of a sudden showed a lot of life against Kentucky, and we know LSU's not that great. So it's like, oh well, wait a minute, that's actually a really big time SEC matchup.
If it makes you feel better about my A&M thing, I am considering picking South Carolina as the dog instead. So
That would be nice.
yeah,
I just want to also point out that if I ever picked Mississippi State, you would like slap me.
I would not slap you. I would verbally slap you.
Yes. Not physically.
You are free. Big Ev, that fat piece of shit picked Mississippi State to be the worst team in the SEC. I didn't get mad at that fat motherfucking piece of shit. I didn't get mad at him.
It's also aging incredibly well.
No, it is not. We played a tough team in the desert. You know how hot it gets in the desert at night?
Also,
Vandy might just be like good.
Also, our coach died.
Also, you guys made a big time comeback. I mean, after we were done with the recording, it was like 2 a.m. and I texted the group, Brandon, it was a 1-score game.
Raise your hand if your coach died. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Point stands.
I will say though, Brandon,
Your coach has never even kind of died.
well, Jimbo died in my heart. On this show, it's okay if we pick those things. If on the college football show, I took Mississippi State as a dog, you would be like, why do you do this to me with Dan and Dave? Why do you do this to me? And you know you would.
What's our next piece of business?
Well, let me find it really quick because I'm going to be honest, I got out of my email, and that is because I'm so excited about Rocket Money. You know what? I understand, Brandon, it's September. All your kids probably are starting school again.
Mm-hmm.
It's time where you got to buy new things, backpacks, school supplies, clothes, all the different things. Rocket Money can keep up with that. Also, new time for subscriptions, like hitting a couple NFL subscriptions on different things, hitting a couple multi-view. Ev, I know you have the same thing that I do, subscription with the multi-view for all the games. All these things start adding up, and Rocket Money can keep it in like line for you, can keep track of it for you. They not only can kind of tell you a budget, tell you where most of your money is going, but they can also cancel those unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/rough. And Ev, you're probably a lot like me because we talked about this. Like you press yes, buy, I want to watch this right now. Then you completely forget about it. And then about March, April, May comes around. You're like, oh shit, I'm not using this right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it before, and I probably have 17 subscriptions to ESPN Plus, but not anymore. Rocket Money, now I just have one. Thank you to Rocket Money.
Yeah, no.
I got so many subscriptions to ESPN Plus.
I also
every time you're at a friend's house, you're somewhere
Yeah.
like I want to watch UFC, I want to watch this
Yeah.
college football game, I want this college basketball game.
You know what I almost did, and I would have done better checking Rocket Money. But Sunday morning, I woke up and I just had a reminder: make sure you buy Sunday tickets so you got all the NFL games. So I went to go buy it, and I was like on the page and trying to buy. I was trying to buy it; it just wouldn't go through. Well, it turns out I already had it, and it auto renewed from last year. Like on August 10th, it auto renewed. So I just took the 300 and whatever out because I'm on YouTube TV. And if I'd had Rocket Money, if I'd been paying attention, Rocket Money probably told me that I did that.
It did.
I just was absolutely just gung ho. I was trying my damnedest to spend that money again.
Rocket Money actually, because I also have YouTube TV. Again, I don't know if we're supposed to say that, but we are. Rocket Money reminded me that I had already signed up for YouTube TV with a different email. That's my problem, is that I sign up with multiple emails because I want to try like the free trials of things.
Yeah.
And Rocket Money was like, you are literally trying to buy YouTube TV on 2 different emails. So don't do that. So shout out Rocket Money.
Shout out Rocket Money.
Rocketmoney.com/rough.
All right. We did who's down. So who's up? I'll throw the order out of whack here. Blutman, who's up the most?
I'm honestly going to go with USC's defense. D'Anton Lynn comes in, Matt Entz comes in, Doug Belt comes in. Looks like a completely different unit. Alex Grinch, thing of the past. Very good to see. Watched the game against Utah State intently after watching the LSU game, of course, where we saw things progress greatly. Defense looks so good again. There are a few missed tackles early on. They got those out the way. Pitch a shutout against Utah State. Sure, Utah State's got, Jalen Royals is a great receiver, but, whatever. SC looks dang good, though. And you look at that schedule and what do they got? bye week. Then they're playing Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. Then they're hosting Penn State. I like that defense a lot. Brand, you mentioned it earlier. I mentioned it a few months ago. USC's legit. They're not just a playoff team. I think Georgia's clear-cut favorite to win this thing, but I think SC's a legit, like, Final Four team. And the way that this defense is playing, the way that they've got Lynn and that defense, it's aggressive, it's tactical, it's so smart. It throws offenses out for a loop. Quarterbacks have such trouble against it. That team's good.
Yeah, no, they are. They look really good so far. Shutout after shutting down the LSU offense. Well, not shutting them down, but limiting their points for sure. Kayce, who's up the most?
I'm going to say Nebraska fans. Obviously, we know that Colorado is not a fantastic team. They have all their issues going on. UTEP the same way. But the way that Colorado fans feel right now about Dylan Raiola and about Matt Rule, we already knew they had a good defense. Again, it's like they are very, very up because they're like, okay, we actually feel like the hype going into this season and everything they've been dying for since the 90s is potentially there in Lincoln, Nebraska again. And when you listen to people in the national media talk about Nebraska, you're not hearing the same, well, it could be the same old Nebraska, at least not yet, because everyone is really buying into Dylan Raiola. And that, goes back to what you said, Brandon. Again, Ev and I never even thought it would be a possibility he wouldn't start. But Matt Rule making that decision, we're going to start a true freshman. He's going to come in. We're going to throw whatever out there and see what happens. Best decision you could make is now you've got an entire fan base just absolutely hyped. And to beat Colorado after Colorado beat them last year at home with the entire country watching, like they're feeling themselves heavy right now.
I think Big Ev's going to take mine, but I will allow him the opportunity to do that. Big Ev, go ahead.
Who's most up right now? I think it's Tennessee. I think Tennessee has put. Did I take it?
No, I wrote two.
There's a really chalk one that I.
No.
Yeah,
I wrote Tennessee is feeling themselves. That was my number one, and then I wrote Iowa State. Big Ev's going to take this one.
Oh, I figured somebody would say Texas.
All right,
you want to know what it was? We did a similar thing on Pick Central. I picked Iowa State, so on this I said I'll go Tennessee.
All right, go ahead. You do Tennessee then.
I think Tennessee's more up in general because I think they've established themselves as a legit playoff team, and they have some games in the schedule that I think they have a chance to establish themselves as potentially like a true national title contender. I think their ceiling might be that high. I mean the way they just boat raced NC State. I mean, their fans have got to be fired up right now. Heupel's done a great job there, especially with quarterbacks. I think Nico's just going to keep playing better and better. Tennessee's got to be thinking. They got to be thinking national title, playoffs, everything. They got to be thinking everything's in front of them.
I agree. That's why I had Tennessee as well. I'll give somebody else, but Heupel is the biggest. Just don't judge a coaching hire when it's made, because just let a guy have a chance, because I did not think much of that hire. I thought it was disappointing. The program like Tennessee would hire Josh Heupel, and he's been perfect. And he's got him positioned perfectly. Like he said, I don't think they're just a playoff contender. I think they're a legitimate SEC title contender and national title contender. That's how good I think they are. So Tennessee is way, way up. I'll just give a couple sneaky ones before I explain Iowa State. Michigan State sneaky up right now. Got a ugly win in week one, and then got a kind of a road win in week two. They don't have really that big of expectations, but there was enough in that Maryland game to make you go, he might be. There's not a finished product, but it's in the oven and is starting to smell kind of good. I don't know. And then Syracuse, I think, is kind of sneaky up right now too. Kyle McCord looks really good. They got a recruiter. They beat Georgia Tech. Like, I think those two are way up there. Boston College is another one that's up, even though that one's not sneaky. I think it ends this week. I think Missouri just absolutely destroys them. Iowa State is somebody that didn't look great in week one. They didn't look great for most of week two, and they hung around, and then they slapped Iowa right across the fucking jaw. Now they're 2-0, and they're going into a Big 12, by the way. If I'm ranking the Big 12 contenders, I've already seen Kansas lose. I saw Oklahoma State do everything but lose to Arkansas. I saw Utah look okay, and then Cam Rising's already back in the injury tent. You've got, who did I say? Kansas State barely wins. Like, if I'm Iowa State and I just beat Iowa and I'm 2-0, I'm looking at the Big 12 saying, why not me? Why not us? because I think it's and this is Big Ev's team to possibly surprise and win that damn thing. I think Iowa State's got to be feeling as good as they felt in a long, long, long time right now.
That's a good one.
I mean, they looked great in that second half.
That second half was amazing.
That was a team that could go to the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
I greatly regret not having them in there with UF.
Yeah, they look really good. And the fact that they withstood that because you go to Iowa City and that defense gets a hold of you early, a lot of teams don't withstand that. A lot of teams kind of fall and they realize, that black and gold wall is too much, and they just kind of hung in there for a little bit, got their bearings, and then it was go time. They went. Kayce, more business?
Yeah, but drop those. It's not time for that yet. It's time for DraftKings, Brandon. It's time for DraftKings. So I know that we're doing the anytime touchdown score surviving pool for Barstool Sports. Did everybody advance this week?
Well, funny you should say that. No.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
You lost in week 1. Okay. Ev, did you?
Yeah, I had Montgomery. What a walk-off to end the weekend.
Yeah, I had Kenneth Walker. Liam, how about you?
Much like Ev, we needed the very last seconds of a game to get through. Jerome Ford in garbage time with about 30 seconds left for the Browns.
So Brandon is out, but the three of us are still.
Well, I think there's a buyback in for me.
What is it?
I think I can pick 2, and if both hit this week, I get back in.
Okay.
Balloons?
Yeah, balloons. Ev just got balloons because we're surviving and advancing. But DraftKings let's see. DraftKings right now, the deal is almost over for new customers right now. You bet $5 on anything, you instantly get $250 in bonus bets. So it's only $5 if you use the code RUFF. And all college football season long, obviously NFL season long, like we're going to have all these different things. Reminder for people, the Unnecessary Roughness and the Barstool College Football Show parlays both hit over the weekend, which is crazy that they both hit the same weekend. So we will continue to have those for the shows on Thursday. So make sure if you are a new customer, you can just go put $5 on those bad boys, or $5 on your anytime touchdown score, $5 on whatever you want, $250 in bonus bets instantly. Use code RUFF.
All right, now I have some questions. Well, it's actually one question with a bunch of teams, okay?
Okay.
And it's called Group, what do we make of this team? After 2 weeks, what do we make of this team? What are we thinking about this team? And we've already mentioned one of them, Blutman did, but I'll get to him in a minute anyway. But the number one team that I can't figure out, and I can't figure out if they shouldn't be in the top 10, I can't figure out anything. What do we make of Oregon so far? Oregon against Idaho looked bad. I mean, they moved the ball, but they didn't score. Then against Boise State, they win the game. Boise State's probably really fucking good, so that's probably going to age well, but they also didn't handle them very well. Like they got lucky to get out of there with a win. They're 2-0. They're still in the top 10. Big Up, what do we make of Oregon?
I don't know what to make of this team. I got to think they're not serious. Like I don't think they're a serious like national title contender like everyone thought. I think everyone's kind of crowned Dan Lanning, and I'm not quite sure why.
Agreed.
I remember we kind of got into this early season. I remember Liam made a comment about him versus Ryan Day, and I kind of was like, what has he done that Day hasn't? Day's done more, and I think Lanning has aged well, at least, or my comments have aged well on at least to start the season. Long season left, I understand that, and they don't look great. I mean, Jetsy's obviously an incredible running back, but their defense doesn't look good. Not completing drives super well. Like it took a lot of the big return to kind of get them over the hump to win that Boise State game. Now they got to go to Corvallis. I mean, where that's going to be Oregon State's Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that's a tough ass game. I mean, I know we're not talking betting. I triple circled Oregon State plus 16.5 in Corvallis. But yeah, I think they're probably like a top, like a 8 to like 15 range. I don't know if they're a truly like a contender.
Blutman, what do we make of Oregon?
I do think it's funny, by the way, how the schedule worked out, that Oregon had the scare against Idaho. Now at Oregon State, they're playing the former Idaho quarterback. That's the kind of cheeky little schedule fact there. I think Oregon's not locked in. I think Oregon's focused on October 12th and nothing else. I think that's all that they could think about and care about right now, and it's hurting them. Ev talked about stalling out drives. They're silly pre-snap penalties that keep happening. It's self-inflicted wounds. I think that stuff ends up getting taken care of and fixed, but I mean, I don't know what to make of this team yet. I would like to see them play a true locked-in game because I don't think we've seen that. I don't think we've seen a quarter where they've been locked in through 8. Again, I think that they're focused on Ohio State and nothing else. I think that reflects bad on Landon.
Kayce, what do we make of Oregon?
Yeah, like of everybody on this show, I think I was the highest on Oregon. I mean, I have Dan Lanning, Coach of the Year, and Dylan Gabriel, my Heisman, which I am not super happy with those picks right now. I agree with Liam to a certain degree. Like, I do think that they're not locked in. I also think that, to assume that Dylan Gabriel was just going to come in and step right into this Lanning offense and be phenomenal was probably just a little bit too much hype for me. But I still think they're very good. And like when I put out my eyeball rankings for week 2, I said I still like Oregon because I do, regardless of them being 2-0, I still think they are a very good team. This offense is going to be very dangerous. But for some reason, it's like almost like they heard all the hype all season. They heard how good they're supposed to be. They heard they're going to come into the Big Ten and they're going to be contending for a Big Ten championship. They're going to be in the playoff. And it's like they haven't really woken up yet. Like, hey, fellas, like, yeah, you can, ink out these wins, but you got to go out there and actually show that you're a good enough football team to beat Ohio State on October 12th. So that's kind of the way I feel about it. I'm not ready to bury them whatsoever, but there's definitely some concern because they don't really seem like they understand the season has started.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I was kind of skeptical about him to start with. Like we just kind of assumed some transfer pieces like Evan Stewart would be amazing. Well, he's never been amazing in his career. Why is he going to start now?
He's okay at A&M.
Yeah, right. He was okay at A&M. That's great. We ain't winning national titles with guys who are okay at A&M. He's a good player. But what I'm saying is they brought all these pieces in and they had to gel, and they're not gelling yet. You say October 12th, that's great, but they better lock the fuck in quick, or October 12th ain't going to mean as much. Like Oregon State's going to be out for blood this weekend.
Correct.
And what? Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I don't have them in the Big 12 in the Big 10 championship game. I didn't have that to begin with. So they're kind of confirming to me the doubts I had. And they get in that Big 10 schedule. You don't get to play Cal and Stanford and Arizona State back to back. You're going to be playing some Big 10 teams back to back. I think there's going to be some come to Jesus meetings in Eugene very, very soon.
I disagree with your Stewart take, though. I think that there's a bigger issue in their receiving room, and that's Tez Johnson having 15 catches for 80 yards. How is he averaging 5.3 yards per catch? That defies logic.
Yeah. What do we make? I know they won easily in week 1, and I know last year they struggled with South Florida. Well, they struggled with South Florida again, and they ended up winning 42-16, and a lot of AP voters who don't watch football games probably think they cruised. They didn't. Alabama was up 14-13 midway through the fourth quarter. What do we make of Alabama, Big F?
I still think they're very good. I mean, I know last year it was the Milroe game where Saban kind of gave us fuck you to the fans, like back off Milroe, doesn't play him. It's a close game. We talked about it in the recap how the scoreboard is not indicative of the way that game actually was. I still think they're a playoff team. I still think they're like 5-10. Like I don't think they win the SEC, but I still think they're a very good team. And I still really like DeBoer. I just think DeBoer's a great coach. I think he's gonna get it figured out. Yeah, I still think they're a playoff team. They're dangerous. I mean, let's not forget this team last year was a 4th and goal from potentially winning the national title.
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of the talent's still there. So yeah, I still think they're a very, very good team. They're very dangerous.
Blutman, any concerns there, or you just like Big Av?
I just still believe in Kalen DeBoer. I am like Wisconsin won't be an issue. I can't wait for the Georgia-Alabama game, of course. It's finding someone else in the wide receiver room, though, aside from your 17-year-old phenom. They don't have a second receiver that has 100 yards receiving through 2 games. You got to figure that out.
Kayce, any concerns about Alabama?
No, I mean, I do think that, like, and Kalen DeBoer used the word like perseverance. Like when you've got a much more talented roster than USF, which by the way, and I know Liam, you've been very high on South Florida. Like they're a good football team. Like they're well coached. They have a good quarterback. But to me, the biggest sign was like if there was any concern that these guys wouldn't be able to play the same way they played for Nick Saban under Kalen DeBoer. And I understand USF is not Georgia, it's not Ole Miss, it's not Tennessee, fine. But the way that they were able to step on it and be like, okay, we dicked around for 3 quarters, we're gonna blow them out in the 4th. Like that to me me says more about the team. Just like, okay, like they didn't take it seriously enough. Just like they didn't take it seriously last year. They'll be fine.
Big Ev, one word answer right here. Yes or no? Just, I need to know where your gambling brain's at. Did you circle Memphis?
No.
Okay.
I didn't circle Florida State either, though.
I
Brandon,
circled
circle
Memphis. I circled them. I haven't committed to anything. I wish that number was like 13.5 and not 6.5, but
It was 8, I think, like yesterday. It's went down
yeah.
vastly in the last couple days.
All right, next team. Actually, this is not a team at all. The other day, Utah struggled once Cam Rising went out, but they struggled putting away Baylor. Oklahoma State struggled with Arkansas. They barely won that game. Kansas State struggled on the road at Tulane. Those are your 3 favorites in the Big 12. Iowa State beat Iowa. Big Av, what do we make of the Big 12 through 2 weeks?
I think they're pretty much what we kind of thought they were. I think for some, like week 1, maybe we got a little excited about them. Just they're like a fun conference, but I think they're what we thought. I think they're a 1-bid league. I think maybe they could sneak in 2. Maybe if one of these, I don't know. Like you said, Avery Johnson has not like been kind of what we thought he was going to be early on, at least. Oklahoma State is obviously strong. I mean, they should have lost by 3 touchdowns to Arkansas.
Yeah.
And Utah, I still believe it. If Cam Rising, when Cam Rising was on the field in that game, they were dominant. It was the second he came out, they couldn't do anything. So that's a scare for them. He has to play.
That's the issue. That's the issue. Why am I to believe he's going to be able to play? He
can't ever stay healthy.
He can never stay healthy. It just doesn't happen for him.
I mean, it's fair. No, it's obviously a totally fair concern. But if he's healthy, I still think they're the best team. But that's obviously a massive if at this point.
I do too. And I mean, we said this a lot. And I think that when we did like our special Big 12 episode, when we first like restarted the podcast as like the new squad, we're like, this conference is going to be very fun in conference. When you're talking about from a national standpoint for who is going to be vying for a national title, I don't have a Big 12 team really being up there. I think Utah is going to win as long as Cam Rising is healthy. But outside of one team, because they win the Big 12, they shouldn't have more than one. Unless something drastically changes, it's going to be fun to bet on and fun to watch and the drama. I'm not putting, Oklahoma State against Ohio State just because they should get an extra team. Like they don't stack up with the other leagues.
I'm going to go ahead and say this. It's fun, and a lot of people notice when you say in the preseason Notre Dame is overrated at number 7. That was correct. It's fun when you say Florida State was overrated at 10. That was also correct. Utah's overrated. I think Utah's overrated. I don't think this team has proven enough to be as highly ranked as they are. Cam Rising cannot stay on the field, and with Cam Rising, a healthy Cam Rising, they're very good. We haven't seen it in 3 years, 2.5 years now. So why do I believe it's going to happen again? I think Utah's overrated. I think Kansas State's overrated. I think Oklahoma State's overrated. I think that whole top of the conference, and like Big Ev picked Iowa State earlier, if the Big 12 were a stock market, the one I'd be wanting to hold, the stock I'd be wanting to hold is Iowa State right now. And that's, I don't know what that means. Not you, below you. Blutman.
Yep.
Thoughts on the Big 12?
I think the wrong teams got hyped up in the preseason. I think most people talked highly about the wrong teams. You spoke to Oklahoma State. A lot of us are kind of, wrong. It's been 2 weeks, a bit wrong about Kansas State. Very underwhelming. I've nailed it. Avery Johnson has not looked near as explosive as I think we're led on to believe. He has insane speed, and we just really haven't seen that. I don't think enough people talked about even Arizona. How about ASU? ASU and BYU have looked good through 2 weeks. BYU, ugly 18-15 win against that garbage SMU team. BYU could be like a pretty decent bottom of the barrel team in this league. Kansas got talked about too much. I think we gave Texas Tech a little too much credit. The offense is good. The defense is an absolute joke. We just talked about the wrong teams, man.
Yeah.
Iowa State should have been talked about a lot more. And again, I'm very upset. I had them as a surprise team. I'm mad I didn't have them in the Big 12 title game. And what we haven't talked about with Iowa State. Once Abu Sama starts getting rolling and finding a groove and the offense runs through him and then the passing game sets up, scary.
Kayce, I got one more team. That's the last thing I have for this show. So before we do that, you can open up your pork rinds,
your Southern recipe pork rinds, baby. Small batch. Which flavor you got there?
I have got the sweet barbecue flavor.
Ooh, I had some of those yesterday. Those are so good. Liam's got the banner, the pennant, whatever it's called. Crunch on those pork rinds, Brandon. Do a little ASMR for the people. Oh, that sounded good. Pork rinds are our friends for the rest of the season. They absolutely hooked us up. And again, if you're listening to this and you haven't given them a try, they're delicious first and foremost, but also no carbs, tons of protein, that perfect crunch. It'll make you feel full without making you feel just disgusting, like so many different snacks. It is truly the perfect sit on the couch, watch football games, tailgates. I don't know, like send them with your kids to school, whatever you need to do. Pork Rinds has it. Go to porkrinds.com, find your crunch time hero. The Southern recipe pork rinds, again, the spicy dill, I think is the family favorite here, Brandon, I would say. Uh-oh. You changing your mind?
I haven't given the barbecue enough love. This is so good.
Well, they're delicious because they have the sweet and tangy. If you can get sweet and tangy
Correct.
right on a like a barbecue
It's
snack,
a perfect barbecue flavor.
yes, then like because you can't if you mess it up, it's no good. But also the hot honey is one of my favorites. I love spicy. But porkrinds.com, friends all year. They should be your friends because they just that crunch, Ev.
It's so good, Kayce. I can't wait to get to Chicago and get my hands on some.
I got such a big box of them.
I do too. I got a
I'm about to
huge
ravage it on Thursday.
Yes,
You
I
ain't touching my pork rinds.
yeah, he's gonna steal them when we do
You
the
ain't
show
touching my
on
pork
Thursday. We'll all be back in person together on Thursday in the office, and I can imagine we'll be all crunching on some pork rinds. Uh-oh. You're talking. It's okay. It's okay. Just get some water.
Kayce,
Get some of that water.
Kayce. Stretch, Kayce. Stretch.
Oh, you want me? Oh, by the way, you know what this means in sign language? It means more.
More. Yeah, oh yeah. Your kid does that?
When you were just doing that, I was like, what's he asking for more? That's how like my parent brain is. Like I was like, what's Brandon want?
Does your kid do that? Because my kids did that back in the day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and shout out Miss Rachel. Like I know your kids are probably a little bit too old for it, but she teaches that. And my son, I mean, he can say more. And sometimes he'll just look at me and just
all right. Last team, and Blutman already kind of mentioned them in one of his segments. But they beat USC, they beat LSU on that Sunday night, and they announced themselves back a little bit, and then they quietly played a Utah State team. It was probably not great, but they just absolutely thrashed them 48-0. The defense has been outstanding for USC. Nobody's ever questioned Lincoln Riley's ability to have a quarterback on the field or receivers on the field or bust a scoreboard. But now it appears 2 games post Alex Grinch, they have put together something on defense. Big Av, what do we make of USC?
I think they're a legit playoff contender. I think they're for real. I mean, we've been waiting around for Lincoln Riley to finally have a defense. I think he finally has an adequate one. I think their ceiling is being like a top 2 team in the Big Ten. I think they could them making the Big Ten title game at this point would not shock me at all. I think they have a very good chance to go into Michigan in 2 weeks and win. If they get that done and they win like one of these other games, one of these other big games, whether it's Penn State or Notre Dame or so, I mean, they're going to be a playoff team if they win 2 of those games and big games, and I think they will.
Yeah, coming into the season, if you rank the Big Ten contenders, Ohio State and Oregon were 1-2. Penn State was right there, and Michigan was right there. They were all top 10 teams. Michigan, certainly, we've seen what they look like, hasn't looked great. Penn State showed some weakness the other day. Oregon has shown weakness, and so maybe that the opening is there for somebody to be the second best Big Ten team, and I don't know why USC couldn't do that, Kayce.
I'm very sad about this right now.
Because you missed the boat on Lincoln Riley?
I missed the boat. I sold my stock on Lincoln Riley 1 year too early, and I've been riding this man for a long time. Okay, don't spit your water.
Oh no!
I said pause first. Okay, I've been riding this man for a long time. I did it at Oklahoma, and everybody gave me shit for that. They could never come to fruition. Why do I keep saying things that sound so sexual? Okay, Then at USC, because I loved Caleb Williams, and I just kept thinking, surely he is going to be able to get a defense. And I know it's still a long season. I understand, 2 weeks in, like I can't just be like, oh my God, they're going to win the national title. But it surely does look like they have a defense. And I know that Caleb Williams has a lot bigger things to focus on right now. But if I'm Caleb Williams, the very back of like the tiny space that's in my brain that would focus on college football at all when he's not focusing on playing for the Bears, would be like, are you kidding me? He's a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. And the only reason they couldn't ever have the success at USC was because their defense was ass. And now it looks like they've got a defense. And I'm sad that I sold my stock. Am I allowed to come back into the stock?
Yeah, you can always buy back into a stock.
I'm buying back in. I love Lincoln Riley.
You lost some money on it, but you'd be okay in the long run.
Yeah, no, I'm buying back in. I'm not going to like go on the college football show and like, talk about how much I love Lincoln Riley quite yet, but I would like it on record right now on September the 10th on Unnecessary Roughness. I'm officially buying back in.
All right. Well, Kayce's bought back her USC stock. Now you could end up losing big here. What if you buy back in and then they go back into it's risky. But
It is risky. But when you like it's kind of like the Spencer Rattler thing with me, and we all have them. Like, I don't know like what your example would be. Like maybe it'll be Drew Aller, I'm not sure. But we have these Miami, Tyler Van Dyke, whatever. It's like when you finally have to give it up and you're like, okay, it's time to give it up, and you feel good about it. I don't feel good about not picking USC in the playoff. I picked USC in the playoff every year that Lincoln Riley's been there. I picked OU to win because of Lincoln Riley, and then I just went against the man. I feel bad about it.
All right, that's a good place to stop. On Thursday, we'll be all together, and we'll be record the college football show in the morning, and then after that, we will get together and talk about Week 3 and everything that's in front of us with all the games, and we'll have an in-person show. But until then, that's all I got. Y'all got anything else?
Thanks again to Thomas Hammock for joining us. That was awesome.
That was awesome, and shout out to Thomas Hammock's grandmother.
Yes.
And you know what? Shout out to grandmothers everywhere.
Everywhere.
I don't have any left, but fuck it. I guess the rest of y'all might.
I do.
Anyway, that's
your mom's a grandma.
She's not my grandma.
No, but she is a grandma.
That's unnecessary roughness.